Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Civic Forum on Whispers 87.7 FM. My name is Uche Nogo. It's always a pleasure to know that you're there. On the program this morning, we're taking a look at state police in Nigeria, security solution or a new governance challenge. Nigeria's security challenge continues to weigh heavily on the minds of citizens, from banditry and kidnapping to communal clashes and violent crime. Many Nigerians are asking whether the country's current policing structure is adequate to protect lives and property in what could become one of the most significant security reforms since Nigeria's return to democratic rule. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally submitted the State Police Bill 2026 to the Senate. The move has reignited the long-standing national debate. Supporters argue that policing should be closer to the people. They believe state-controlled police formations would improve intelligence gathering, strengthen community engagement, and enable quicker responses to local security threats. Well, we have this issue lined up for this morning, and to help us examine these issues, we are joined by a respected voice in the civil society space. Our guest today is Dr. Emeka Ononammadu, a distinguished civil society advocate and public policy expert. He is the executive director of the Citizen Center for Integrated Development and Social Rights, an organization committed to promoting democratic governance, transparency, accountability, and citizens' participation in public affairs. Dr. Ononammadu has also previously served as the resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Enugu State, where he played a significant role in electoral administration and democratic process. Doctor, you are welcome to the Civic Forum.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. So, President Tinubu has formally transmitted the State Police Bill to the Senate. In simple terms, what exactly does this bill seek to achieve?
Well, first of all, I need to say kudos for that move, even when we look at it with some sense of nostalgia, because it is really, really too late to have a state police. What I mean is that it's something that will require for a very long time as a federal institution, as a federal nation. The population or the number of current policemen is grossly insufficient to govern the nooks and crannies of this country. And again, look at it from this legal perspective. We have the judiciary, the executive, and the legislators, and of course, the state, the federal, and the local government. Each of these tiers of government reels out their own laws as stated by the Constitution. And when you make laws, you must have the enforcement powers. So the issue of state police is long overdue. And I am sure that they are even not getting it so right, because we don't need to stop at state police. We need to move a little closer to local government police. That is where it will become, because local government is the closest tier of government to the people, so that people can manage their lives and their livelihoods, protect their lives and their livelihood, and not be, waiting to get, security all from Abuja. One is that the clamor for decentralization of the existing police has met several huge obstacles. And these obstacles are, translating into probably what we see today as the deficiencies or certain gaps that you experience from the current police. They cannot be spirits. In anywhere in the world, population is related to the number of police you have. And when you talk about the state government, because the arguments about against state police obviously is lopsided. Is born out of fear. Is born out of projections of what really we don't know. But the question is this: even the current police as is constituted now, are they not being abused by the governors?
So why has the demand for state police gained renewed momentum in this particular time in Nigeria's
Because
democracy?
there are too much ungoverned spaces. The executive, the enforcement arm of the executive, actually the police, and some of the civil security agencies in the country, and they are grossly insufficient. I think they are blowing it up now because the current insecurity situation is overwhelming and has taken everybody by the storm. Even those who feel that are well protected and are now very serious targets to certain levels of insecurity operators or perpetrators in this country. So the thing is that it is reaching that height where they say, oh no, we can't wait until it gets to us. Because right from time, people have called for not just, I think it was during a dead time, they were talking about community policing beyond local government policing, and they established something close to that, but the current police as is constituted made it impossible to operate. There was this one set up by the former IG, I think that is from Cross River or Akwa Ibom, which we call PCRC, that's Police Community Relations Committee. That is also another effort to draw the police closer to the people. And it's working, but not giving the real teeth or that it deserves to really connect. Because what we want is just not state police, not just local government police, not the federal police, but mutual police accountability. A policing that will relate with the people. And then make sure that every information, every details of what is happening within a community is known. If you travel between here and Enugu, where I come from, how many checkpoints do you meet? What is the radius and how many are covered by the security agencies? Not less than 20%. Who covers the remaining 80%? Because of the inadequacies of the number of police people we have in this country.
Do you think that the state policing will help with intelligence gathering, really?
Obviously, if it is done very well. If it is not all-commerce game. If it is not a situation where hoodlums find themselves into the recruitment process using their brothers and sisters who is up there. If we make recruitment of policemen at the state level purely by merit, all these issues will get away from our view within a twinkling of an eye. But when we go back to the same old model of getting, policemen and women from the back doors, because the challenge is also our recruitment process at the federal level. We don't have a situation where you have database of people you profile so that you don't get criminals into the police and they'll go and spoil their good name. Somebody will tell me, don't spoil my bad name. Okay.
The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, has actually promised to safeguard against abuse. What specific accountability measures do you think should be included? I know you've mentioned a few in the legislation.
Yes, number one is the police, the state police. Their duties must be clearly specified so that they won't run counter with the federal police. Well, abroad, you know what the federal bureau does and what the state police does. Since we have 3 tiers of government, it's important to make sure that the police we have limits themselves within the barometer of the law that set them up. If you encounter a crime, you evaluate it, And if it is within the federal laws, you hand over the suspect to the federal police for prosecution. If it is within the state laws, you hand over the suspect to the state police for prosecution. And if it is within the ambit of the local government edict, of course, you hand over to the so that the responsibilities of each will actually be properly managed. Sometimes you go to a police division, and the number of cases will be so overwhelming that the DPO sometimes runs into some serious psychological challenge handling those
Which
things,
brings
and
me
go with a lot of pressure.
Which brings me to the next question. Is the proposal for dedicated 3% of federation account allocation, is it actually enough to sustain state police operations?
Nothing will be too small, if you ask me. We'll have to start the process.
Okay.
It's a law. If it is inadequate, it can go for amendment or thereabout. But what we know now is that the resources that goes to the states, the resources that goes to the local governments are inadequately utilized when it comes to issues of policing. Most one that goes into the police are not accounted for simply because it is an informal arrangement, because the police is funded by the federal. But if there is a law that states that the states will fund the police, of course, all the money going to the police must be moving to the police from the official channels of government bureaucracy.
Some governors actually want greater control over appointments and operations. How much autonomy should they have without undermining national cohesion?
Well, mine is decentralization. A whole lot of things in this country should be decentralized so that we know who to hold responsible. A divisional police officer in my community cannot be messing up and I'm holding the Inspector General of Police accountable. It does not work. And that bureaucratic chain needs to be compartmentalized in such a way that basic citizens will know where to lay the blame. Number two, we need to somehow democratize the appointment of police officers from this setup. People knows who work well for them. If you appointed divisional police commissioner or officer in a place and you are not doing well, they can vote you out and get other people in, thereby making the police to be directly accountable to the people they govern. If there is mutual accountability, what that means is that the police will also hold the community accountable where they falter. And that is the most critical thing. When they have this interface, always, I've done my bit, did you do your own bit well? I think this passing the buck will have to stop. But what we want to say is state police might be insufficient if you don't add up local government police, so that local governments will not at some point start holding or blaming the state government for the gaps you will find in the future.
You talked about starting from somewhere.
Yeah, just like the federal is being blamed by states right now. When we can do what we call a clean sweep, so that we also minimize the informal and unauthorized, security outfits, which we sometimes call the vigilantes and all that. When we have those formal things, we may not have need for vigilantes. Everybody will be formal and accountable and responsible and reporting to a particular channel. That will also enable us to gather a good database from the community level to the federal level.
Doctor, what role should citizens, civil society organizations, and the media play in scrutinizing this bill before it becomes law?
Yes, there must be a very inclusive public hearing, not the politicization of the public hearing, just to say we have done it. You need some that will go down to the nooks and crannies, because what happens in Adamawa is different from what happens in Enugu. What happens in Kaura Namoda is different from what happens in Port Harcourt. So the peculiarities of every location will have to be brought to book and directly channeled into the legal process through a very effective public hearing. A public hearing that should be manned, if possible, by civil society, in combination or in cooperation with civil society groups that have very strong skills on security and security provisions, so that at the end of the day, the gaps will be so minimal, if actually there will be any.
Okay. So finally, do you believe that state police is the solution needed now, or should the existing security institutions first be strengthened?
But while we are trying to get the state police, we should not leave the federal police from being properly strengthened. And in strengthening them, there should be a space for watchdog, because sometimes if you allow them to do it alone, you realize that a lot of things are still missing here and there. We can gamble with any other thing, not security, in this country, because it has gotten to the edge where we will say no, enough is enough. I'm glad that this process has started, even though late, like I said earlier, but it needs to be fast-tracked. Many people are afraid. You can't travel again by road from... in those days, I used to drive myself from here to Brinning Kebi. But now, if you want to try it, you have to write your will. Why? Because there are so many ungoverned spaces. The number of police people we have now is inadequate. And sometimes when you call for recruitment, only very few will be willing to give up. But now if you reduce it and people know that they are going to work within their states, it will also improve the spirit or the interest of the young ones. So,
do you think that the federal government should focus more on using more of technology in terms of policing?
Yeah, it should be a combination of two. There should be improved technology where immediately I type your name in my system, I can get who you are. Like in the developed countries, what they do, immediately you say your date, they key it in and everything about you pops out. And if you have some issues, they will know there and then. If you don't have these things, the technology we have now is enough that we can acquire and help our security agencies to be more professional, to be more effective, and to be more timely. If we have records, what happened over the last 15 years will guide our attitude in what is going to happen in the next 15 years. Because crime has season. During Salah or Christmas, the kind of crime that gets committed is different from the kind of crime that gets committed during the ordinary time. So immediately season comes, you open up your system and face that particular kind of crime and see how you can address them, particularly prevention. Because when we talk about police, what is the major function of police? Number one is crime prevention. And if this technology that can assist in preventing crime, before you talk about crime investigation, technology plays a very good role too. And then crime prosecution. These are the three cardinal responsibilities of the Nigerian police. So if you can do more when you are getting the new ones at the level of states to pay more attention in crime prevention, that is also where this issue of intelligence comes in. When we were small, you will be in a drinking joint. You would know that the next person you are drinking with is an intelligence officer, monitoring, gathering what if you are trying to do some inordinate things. Then the next minute you are apprehended even before you start. You don't need to wait for that crime to be committed. That is why the first responsibility of the Nigerian Police Authority is crime prevention. So that should be at the back of the mind of those making the law, so that when they make the law, they put a lot of emphasis in prevention. And of course, in the general terms, they say prevention is better than cure. And that is the emphasis. Again, because of the level of sophistication of technology and even the society, crime has gone nuclear. Why? That is where you need to get. We have a lot of data about citizens, from the NIMIC to INEC to every other agency. They can be aggregated so that every citizen, now people have NIM, people have, but they don't know what to do with it. The states need to have access to it so that they can also unbundle what kind of people that are in those areas. You don't just wait until you grab somebody who has committed crime and then you start asking a whole lot of questions. Yeah. That's where technology is very key, valid. And for me, whatever that you can spend to make sure. The security we're talking about is not just about protection of lives and property. It's about the life of the nation. Why? Investment. Before you bring in your money to any country, you monitor the level of security that your investment will enjoy. You cannot bring in $50 billion here when you are not sure that there is enough security to secure it for you. So it goes just beyond human life protection. And of course, every government has the responsibility of doing what? Protecting lives and properties. Around properties is the investment we talk about. So it can, security coming back to normal alone can kickstart our economy in such a large scale. And that is why, because I have also made a point when we talked about local government autonomy, it was kickstarted by Mr. President. Suddenly it went down. It was, and I said it time and over, that if he is able to push through the autonomy of local government, he must have ended up solving Nigerian problem by more than 70%. Because the huge resources he acclaimed, and he also mentioned that moves into that level is enough to stop our crime by 30-40%. But nobody knows exactly what is being done with such huge resources.
That conversation will be for another day, Doctor. Thank you very much. I've been speaking with Dr. Emeka Ononammadu. Did I get that right?
Yes, Ononammadu.
Okay. Thanks for sharing your insight on this all-important national discussion. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's the program, the Civic Forum on Whispers 87.7 FM. Join us tomorrow for another topical conversation. My name is Uche Nogo. Good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doc.